Good morning. Welcome back to Vlogmas Day 15. Today I will be doing a sourdough recipe and then I will be doing a deep clean on the refrigerator. So stick around and watch me speed through all these tasks. For the sourdough recipe, this is the recipe I have been using for about 2 weeks now, and I haven't been following it to a T. I have been substituting the whole wheat flour for unbleached all-purpose flour, and it's been coming out fabulous. But today I decided to try it with the actual ingredients that have been listed on the recipe. I also have been having the recipe, so this recipe yields 2 loaves. I didn't want to make 2 loaves until I knew that I had the recipe down. I didn't want to waste the ingredients, so I was just using half the recipe and just making 1 loaf at a time. I just wanted to make sure also that my method and the recipe was perfect. I didn't want to have a lot of ingredients wasted because I forgot a step or the recipe was incorrect. Right now I am mixing the water into the flour that I just weighed out. I am letting the flour hydrate, letting it autolyse, and then I will be adding the starter in. While the dough is hydrating, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the kitchen. I have partially emptied the dishwasher. I'm gonna go ahead and finish emptying that out. Then load the dishwasher and clean off the counter and just make sure everything is nice and tidy. After the starter has been added, I have a few minutes before I need to do the first stretch and fold, so I go ahead and feed Stella and Fire. They each get a fish caplet, some pumpkin puree, and yogurt, and their kibble. And I water it down so they have an easier time trying to digest that.
Mommy has to stretch and fold. I know, bud. I know. I know. I'm coming right now. Coming.
I have 2 slices of the sourdough I made for breakfast, and then I'm about to show you what's in the fridge. So the fridge isn't dirty. There's not like sticky, syrupy stuff on anything in particular, but it has been a few months since it's been really deep cleaned. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out everything and give it a nice scrub down. There's things in here that just need to be tossed because they can't be salvaged. Other things need to be used up this evening or the next day. So you'll see me go ahead and take everything out and clean everything. So in between cleaning out the fridge, I'll be continuing the sourdough recipe. I am just adding the salt to it now and doing another stretch and fold. After this, I change into normal clothing, which is a trigger for Fire to go a little crazy. He expects a walk as soon as I change into normal clothing. As soon as I get out of the shower and I put on the clothes, he is right underneath me like, let's go for our walk. So here I am trying to start cleaning out the fridge and he is right there next to me like, what are you doing? Why aren't we outside already? So I have to pull the fridge forward because it slides back over time. I am not a huge fan of the side-by-side fridge. I just feel like there's less space for storage. It's not my house. I can't really complain about what the owner equips the house with. I'm just thankful that there is a fridge. But yeah, it's not my cup of tea. If I could choose a fridge, I would get a standard top and bottom, not side by side. I start by taking the drawers out of the bottom of the fridge, as well as the produce that's in them. I use soapy water and wash them out really well. There is a bucket next to the sink. That is our compost bucket. We put in our kitchen scraps and spoiled veggies that we want to compost, and it's just easier for us to bring out a bucket instead of having a bowl with no handle since our compost pile is quite away from the house because we don't want the smell. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep cleaning the drawers and just make sure there's no residue in there. They were quite clean to begin with. There was only a few like onion skins, garlic skins, not too much of a mess. And if you notice behind me, we have a Fire. Fire is right there. He is very patiently waiting for me to finish this task. I was hoping to get the whole refrigerator done before I walk them, but they have just been under my feet and hanging around me, which normally they just lay in their beds. So I know they definitely want to go for their normal walk. last things I do before we go for our walk is I open up the dishwasher to let it air dry. And then I take out the vegetables that I'm gonna be prepping for dinner, set those aside, and then take the vegetables that I won't be using tonight, put them back in the fridge, and I'm just picking through some potatoes here. Some of them have gone bad, and the others we will be having for dinner tonight. After our walk, we get back to the house, and now the sourdough that I prepped this morning has doubled in size. I'm gonna go ahead, pour it out onto the counter, and begin shaping it so I can put it into the Benetton baskets for it to ferment overnight. Before I put the sourdough loaves into the refrigerator, I cover them. I use grocery bags because they're just so abundant and easy to work with, so I don't have to waste cling wrap on it. Now, I know I'm not the only one that has difficulties putting the drawers back in the refrigerator. It's just, you know, one of those things. They're easier to come out than put back in, so you get to see me struggle a little bit. And as you can tell, there is a lack of dogs in the frame. They have been walked, so they're nice and tuckered out, and they will be taking one of their many naps that they take throughout the day. When I got back, I decided to have another cup of coffee, and I started brewing it, and I'm just very laser focused on trying to get this fridge done that it takes me multiple minutes for me to actually put it together. So if you can see in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, there's like this red cap that's open. Yeah, that stays there in focus for I think the majority of the rest of the video. And I don't get to enjoy my coffee until I'm almost done. That's like how focused I am on this fridge. I wanted more caffeine, but I'm just not in need of it at the moment. I'm completely caffeinated. So after I do the 2 drawers and put all the stuff back, I do the next shelf up and the cheese drawer. Now, in my fridge, we have had a problem with a lot of our food freezing on the top 3 shelves, really like the first 2 shelves. I can barely keep a Brita pitcher in the top without it freezing over every single day. We've adjusted the temperature 3 or 4 times now, every time by a degree or 2, and we're up to that stage where if we raise the temperature anymore, it would be considered in the hazardous danger zone for food handling. So, I don't know what it is about this fridge, but the side-by-side just freezes all the food in the top 2 shelves. So what we do is put stuff that doesn't typically freeze, which is hard because the stuff that is refrigerated has some sort of water content and eventually does freeze. Like up there we have pickles, and because of the salt content, you think it wouldn't freeze? Well, wrong. There's enough water in there that it froze it. And you'll see after I kind of clean everything out that I push everything onto the door. I believe by the end of it, the only thing that I have left up there are 3 beers that we've had in there for months. Some pickled jalapenos that have a ton of salt in them because we process them and pickle them ourselves. And then, like, nothing. I don't want to risk more food being wasted because the fridge can't cool properly. Before someone says that I'm storing my food incorrectly, we are not putting food in the direct path where it says airflow and has little arrows next to it. We keep that clear of food so that way the air can pass through and go to the lower shelves. It just freezes everything on the top shelves before it drops down. So on this second shelf here, we typically store the yogurt pumpkin mix that we feed our dogs. If it does freeze, we are able to chip off like the tablespoon that we need of it, and then we just set the yogurt down on a lower shelf. But since the last time we've adjusted the temperature, the yogurt hasn't frozen yet. It does get a little crystally, but it hasn't frozen solid. So fingers crossed that the fridge won't freeze any more food. Now, I wasn't thinking clearly when I pulled my starter out of the fridge, and you can see it in the bottom right-hand corner next to the creamer that I've yet to put in my coffee, indirect sunlight. So by the time I ended up putting it back into the fridge, it had grown a centimeter almost to about an inch, which ends up being okay because I had already planned on making 2 more loaves in a few more days. I was planning on doing a freezer reorganization, but there isn't much in there and there isn't much space to reorganize things in my opinion, so I decided not to do that today. So I'm just finishing up the fridge side, putting everything back on the doors, and that will be the end of the organization for this day. And if you'll notice, the creamer is still out, and after I'm done reorganizing this fridge, I pour myself a nice cup of coffee. So here's what it looks like after everything's been organized. Notice that the top two shelves, pretty much empty. And I put all the vegetables into the vegetable crispers and put everything that belonged on the doors back on the doors. And that's about it for the fridge. So Alec stopped by Lowe's on the way home and picked up his Black Friday find. He got a chest freezer for us for Christmas. He said he ordered it on Black Friday and it arrived today. So I plan on reorganizing the entire kitchen. I was planning on moving the Metro shelf behind me where I'm standing and reorganizing everything that's on it. It is a disorganized storage spot right now. We are underutilizing a lot of our cabinets in the kitchen, so I plan on putting some of those random equipment pieces and stuff that we don't use as much in the cabinets underneath the counter, but that will be a different video for another day. And right now you see me chopping up the fennel that I took out earlier, and I plan on doing this roasted veggie mix with the cheese that we have in the fridge. So I go ahead and slice up the fennel, take out the core, and put it on a sheet tray and air fry it. And then I will dice up the potatoes that I took out earlier and put that on another pan as well and air fry it. Now for both of these vegetables, Alec ground up some rosemary, thyme, salt, and pepper in a mortar and pestle. So we get that nice, delicious flavor being released from the dried herbs. Yes. Awesome. We will watch that as soon as I get this in the oven. Okay. Is there salt? Yeah, you got salt. And while that is cooking, we had bought some habaneros from a local farm and we have not processed them yet. So that's what I'm doing here, just de-seeding, reserving some of the seeds so we can possibly grow our own next season. And then I will be mincing the peppers up, and Alec is going to be making a chili oil with it later on this evening. Normally, I am not this delicate with peppers. I will just go ahead and split it in half. But I was trying to get all of the seeds from these two particular peppers. I just found that they looked the most intriguing and the spiciest out of the lot. So, especially with the first pepper that I'm de-seeding here, it has an interesting shape and I wanted to reserve every last seed just in case. We don't know how spicy these habaneros are yet, but I have a feeling that they are extremely spicy because after I took my gloves off, after processing these, some of the oils leached through and I could taste it on my fingers. So it's great because our jalapenos this year were not spicy whatsoever. We actually used them in place of green peppers. That's how not spicy they were. And Alec and I were in the kitchen discussing these habaneros. I caught a little bit of our discussion on the camera, so here it is. They have the strangest smell.
Do they smell sweet?
No, like rotting. But like you can hold it up to your nose and it doesn't smell rotten. It smells like a habanero.
Yeah, you're probably smelling the gas
Like smell.
coming off of them.
Smells a little rotten, but then smell.
No, they're okay.
Yeah, it's like a trick. I think it's meant to fool you. It's like, oh, you don't want to eat this? This is a horrible, disgusting smelling plant. And then... Yeah, so while I was de-seeding these and chopping them up, it had a foul, kind of rotten smell, but it wasn't the actual pepper itself. Alex said it's the gases that's being released, which I believe that. So I finished chopping these up and Alec ends up putting it in the oil and making chili oil with it. And our dinner is complete by heating up some cheese sauce and pouring it on top of the roasted vegetables. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a very long day. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.